Today I'm down in Thermal, California, and I got the chance to take a very brief look at the 2022 BMW X3. Let's talk about what's new and what stayed the same for this model year. The first thing to know is that 2022 is not a complete redesign, this is a refresh of the X3. So we have some subtle exterior tweaks. For instance, the BMW kidney grille got a bit bigger. I know some folks have been a little upset about the size of BMW grilles lately, but BMW actually said that customers were complaining that the grille was a little bit too small in the previous model pre-refresh. This is not as controversial as the one that we find in the 4 Series, of course, and actually I think it looks pretty good on the 3 Series. I don't find it too large at all. We have full LED headlights with some changes to the accent there inside. This particular model is the 40i version, the M40i version, so we have M wheels there, M brakes, and M badge on the side. The size of the X3 has not changed since this is just a refresh. Same wheels back there in the rear. But we have a subtle change to the rear end design. The new tail lamps help keep things a little bit more consistent with the rest of the modern BMWs. There's a lot of 3D effect in here. You can see it dips in here. This little section actually sticks out a bit. They're full LED tail lamp modules, which is a really nice touch. The exhaust tip is the main thing that changes depending on whether you get the 2-liter turbo or the 3-liter turbo. This particular model is the 3-liter turbo, as indicated by the M40i badge on the passenger side. The engine lineup is pretty similar to last year. Things start off with the 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that produces 248 horsepower and gets you 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. Then we have an optional turbocharged 6-cylinder engine. This is a 3-liter model, but the big change for this year is that it has a mild hybrid system attached to it now. There's an approximately 11 horsepower motor that will give you a little bit of boost and some minor regenerative braking as well. This has power at 382 horsepower and torque at 369 pound-feet for 2022, and according to BMW, will go 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, while giving you a very slight bump in real-world fuel economy. If that's still not enough power, don't worry, the M and the competition versions of the X3 are still around. The X3M will give you 473 horsepower and the competition 503. Jumping inside, the seat designs didn't really change for 2022, so we still have a multi-way power driver's seat. This one has inflatable side bolsters, 4-way adjustable lumbar support, and seat memory on the doors. There's still a pretty comfortable back seat with plenty of rear seat headroom. This model does have the large panoramic moonroof, but I have no problem back here. And the rear seats do offer a recline function. There is a little lever right here on the side, and then I can give the seats about 2 inches of recline. Practical touches back here include a fold-down padded center armrest. The center section also folds away. This is a 40-20-40 folding rear seat back. That's immensely practical because you can put long items like IKEA purchases or skis right in here and still seat 4 people. We also have 2 big air vents for the rear seat passengers and 3-zone automatic climate control. Moving inside, we still have a large panoramic moonroof that goes to just over the rear passengers' heads. Fixed height shoulder belts. This does strike me as odd that BMW has really canceled a lot of the adjustable height shoulder belts in most of their vehicles. 4-way adjustable head restraints, leather upholstery in this model. These are just heated, they're not ventilated. Pretty aggressive side bolsters here in the M40i version, but the seats are still very comfortable for my size. We have an extending thigh cushion down there at the bottom. Lots of high quality materials on this interior. I think that the build quality of the X3 actually reminds me perhaps a little bit more of the 5 Series than the 3 Series in terms of the parts quality and just the assembly of things. The dashboard is definitely a departure from what we see in the 4 Series and 3 Series. Lots of soft touch materials up top, but the big change is this new larger infotainment system right here in the dashboard. It's a little bit higher than before and definitely much larger. The software itself is pretty similar to last time. This runs the latest version of BMW's iDrive and supports smartphone integration. The accent trim on the dashboard and on the doors changes depending on the trim that you're on, but we have lots of metallic accent strips running across the dash. We have a large glove compartment right here. I had no problem fitting a 10-inch tablet computer inside. Going back to the center of the dashboard, we have those 2 large air vents, a design with this section of the dashboard that's definitely more harmonious with the newer BMWs in the lineup. Direct access button to the active safety systems in the vehicle. The controls for the front 2 climate control zones. You can control the 3rd zone by hitting that button right there and then do that through the iDrive menu. We then have some buttons for the infotainment system. These are memory buttons. They can be programmed to a wide variety of different things. We have a roller style cover right over here. This covers up the 2 cup holders and a small storage area that you just can't fit a larger smartphone in. Joystick style shifter right here, lots of buttons down here, drive mode buttons here, other buttons for the vehicle like parking sensors, stability and traction control. This is the control knob and button arrangement for the iDrive system. We then have an electronic parking brake with auto brake hold. Between the front seats, we have a padded center armrest that opens to reveal a fairly small storage compartment compared to some of the front-wheel drive models. That's because the transmission is approximately in this area, but the storage area is pretty similar to other rear-wheel drive vehicles. No modern BMW would be complete without a color heads-up display. That's that hole in the dash right there just above the instrument cluster. Moving down from there, we find a full LCD instrument cluster in this model. We then have a very attractive leather-wrapped steering wheel here. One nice touch is that a lot of modern BMW models have a stitched leather airbag cover, and that really makes the steering wheel experience much more premium feeling than some luxury brands that just give you a plastic cover. For instance, in the Volvo XC60, it's a plastic cover, which has always blown my mind a little there. Really nicely wrapped steering wheel. Since this is the M40i version, we get some tricolor stitching there on the steering wheel. The controls for the cruise control over here on the left side. No radar cruise control in this model. Controls for the infotainment system primarily over here on the right side, along with the scroll wheel that works with the heads-up display. How does the refreshed X3 drive? Well, for more detail on that, you're going to have to wait until I can get my hands on one of these for a complete week. I have been able to spend a short amount of time out here in Thermal, California, but I haven't been able to run this through my usual paces. I've had a very limited amount of time with this particular model. Most of my time has been spent in the X3 M40i, but I have been able to spend some time in the X3M and, of course, the X3M competition. Those are absolutely insane, just as insane as they were before, but not as much has changed with them as with the M40i. This now has BMW's mild hybrid system, and it is a very, very mild hybrid system. So unlike we find with modern Mercedes mild hybrids in their EQ models, those vehicles have an electric air conditioning compressor, so the cabin can still stay cool when the vehicle is stopped. This, on the other hand, has a mechanical air conditioning compressor, so if the engine's off, the air conditioning is off as well. Starting and stopping the engine is a little bit smoother, and the electric motor will also give you a little bit of a torque increase depending on the situation out there. It's going to have a minor improvement on fuel economy, but don't expect 30 mpg in the real world. If you want to get your hands on the new X3, these will be on dealer lots right around the time that you're watching this video. The X3 is going to be less expensive than the X4. The X3 and X4 are very closely related. This is going to be $44,695 starting. The X4 bumped things up to $52,795, even though it does cut down cargo practicality. Really, the X4 and the X3 are very similar up front, but rear doors rearward. The X4 is more like the BMW 4 Series in terms of its profile. In the meantime, be sure and hit that subscribe button down there at the bottom of your screen. Find me over at facebook.com, Instagram, all those other social places, and I'll see everybody next week.